I'm joined today by Laureline from BMC Analysis. Hi, Laureline. Could you just explain a little bit about who you are and what your company does?
Yeah, so I'm personally looking after quality and technical as well, and actually health and safety now. And we are a laboratory specialized in base metal concentrates analysis. Typically we receive samples from different origins, traders, miners, and thereafter figuring out obviously sort of like the metal contents of those samples so that they can obviously buy or sell them. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what we do, and which means we employ all sorts of different analytical methods, obviously, in order to do that. So in the process, obviously, when I joined, I was in charge of getting the 17025 accreditation, which is a quality management system international standard, which I know you're maybe not as familiar with because you come from a 9001, 45001, 14001 background, but there are some big similarities between 9001 and that standard. So yeah, and this is a big part of why we wanted to obviously start using QO4. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. What did you use before then to manage sort of your health and safety processes?
Local drive, and then Excel and Word documents pretty much is all we had at our disposal. So yeah.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
Yeah, we only a quite young business. The director started the business in 2020, but then really kick-started it with actual samples going through the door in 2021. So it's only about 4 years old. But we've gone through quite a lot in those 4 years, and we're growing quite quickly now. But yeah, explains a bit why we started off with what we started off, and then
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even we come across businesses that have been established for many, many years and they're still using Excel spreadsheets. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a great thing that you guys have been able to progress so quickly onto something that's made your workflows easier. So could you just touch on some of the challenges that you were finding with your previous sort of methods?
Yeah, so one of the ones that straight away I was struggling with was the likes of document acknowledgement, because obviously, with that very local sort of system, basically I had to print sheets to just make people sign the fact that they read a procedure, and you know how it is, people will forget to sign it, you're forever chasing people, that sheet can get lost and then you lose all that information, etc. So it wasn't the easiest and most effective way to monitor acknowledgements, etc., and demonstrate that it got done, obviously. Non-conformities as well, making sure that non-conformities were being progressed, reviewed, obviously closed in a timely manner, was made difficult with, again, that sort of local system. And then, anything to do with records, really, even the likes of approval, how do we evidence something has been approved, etc., etc. So that they were the main challenges I had at that point, really. The fact that it would rely a lot on me to chase people, to notify them, to again think about, following up on actions, etc.
Can you describe how your company currently uses QHub?
So as I said, the document library was one of the first one we implemented basically in the business, because even though we're fairly small and yes, we're fairly young, because we're accredited, we do have quite a fair amount of documents that we need to keep up, obviously, for maintaining our quality management system. So that was one of the first things we implemented, and again, in the hope that it would help me obviously monitor acknowledgements and then chase people easier, etc. And obviously, it's been proven, the fact with the read and understood task that gets sent. What was good as well is initially some of the setup weren't quite right for us. I wanted to, for example, be able to send read and understood task as I was publishing a procedure for the first time. That didn't used to happen, and then I've requested an improvement to obviously been implemented on that, which got done. So that's improved quite a lot. So that was the first thing we looked at. And then quite quickly, as I say, non-conformities we implemented in the process hub. So that allowed me to obviously have that structure of the non-conformity gets raised, someone gets to investigate what the issue is, and then someone else can then look after actions, etc. So it's that flexibility of having different people involved in the process, and for it to be quite clear who is responsible for what, be able to put due dates, escalation systems in place, etc. So we've done that. And then the next one was the audit hub, because again, as we are accredited, we do conduct internal audits on a regular basis. So again, it was quite useful to have that in there, again, to be able to monitor better the schedule, is it things getting done on time, establish obviously the requirements, make sure everybody applies the same. Again, from my perspective, make sure I can easily review where the audits are to, if I agree with the findings, etc., etc. And again, the fact that then these findings automatically could be fed into our non-conforming process that we set up in the process hub. So again, it was also the fact that we could have that sort of closed loop where one part feeds it to the next, and then we can just carry on the work that way. After that, really we started looking more at the asset hub, because obviously we've got a number of assets on site which needs obviously regular calibrations. We need to be able to record all the relevant details of those assets, etc. So we implemented that next. I know I'm not necessarily showing you, it's not very confidential, but yeah, we currently have about it's more than 114 actually, because we've got some duplicate numbers in there, which intentionally we've done, even though since then I've raised another ticket for an improvement, because in my opinion, overall, you should be able to create assets with the same number, which we were able to up until recently, and I think it's been sorted out. So again, another good thing, quite reactive with those things, which is really good. And then we started using more the register hub, because again, we've got to like evidence training, and obviously keep track of who's trained on what, the level of competency, and what was really good with that again, where I was personally struggling with before, is that those competency have an expiry date. So it was the way, like obviously before, it basically relied on me again going through the documents and identifying what is about to expire, and then obviously trigger some actions. Whereas again, in the register, you can have that automation in place, which obviously is really useful, because then I don't necessarily have to worry about checking it myself. As long as it's set up, it will send me notifications. So it just makes it a lot easier. So yeah, that's pretty much how we've used QHub so far. Obviously, we don't use it a great deal, but I see us doing more of that. Because of all those different modules, it's quite easy then to have KPIs, obviously, and track those KPIs. So as I said, we haven't necessarily done a great deal on that, but I can see us using that more in the future. We actually also started using the Form Hub a lot more recently. And again, it's along the lines of the training I was mentioning, because typically our training would include the likes of, you need to read such procedure, and then we expect you to maybe sign a particular form and then answer a few questions. And again, the forms were actually really easy to use in that respect, because the procedure are already uploaded on QHub. So it was just a way to capture that really understood task within that process. So yeah, it's worked really well. Like, it's only been recently implemented, but so far it's working quite well for us. So yeah, and then more personally, I started working on the work hub more as well. Where I've started creating even my to-do list in there, because again, I've got about a million things to do all the time. So yeah, I went from using post-it notes. Well, I still use the post-it notes, but I do try and record the main sort of actions I'm meant to complete in that to-do list. So again, it helps me track sort of where I'm up to. Again, get reminders from QHub that I set to do that by this time. It's not been completed yet. So yeah, that's sort of an overview of what we've done so far with QHub.
Fabulous. Yeah, it sounds like it's sort of really helped to streamline your workflows, and being able to also the hubs communicate with each other, and you're able to link them. And things are, you can automate a lot of things that you had to do manually before. So it sounds like it's saving you a bit of time, which is great.
Oh, definitely. I don't think currently we would cope as well as we are if we didn't have all of that in place. And as I said, the more I learn to use QHub, because I mean, it's still things that some of the automation, sometimes I'm sort of struggling to understand what's the best way to set them up, etc., if I'm being honest. But as I get more familiar with all those aspects, I tend to use more and more, because I find it really good. And again, my aim is we still sort of are in between that local drive I mentioned before and QHub, but ideally at some point I just want everything to go through QHub. So yeah, that's my aim, obviously, in the very near future, to completely get rid of anything to do with all I've described from the local drive, just purely have it on QHub. So yeah, it's been good, definitely.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're sort of still in the transition phase. Well, how have you found that transition? Have you found QHub to be helpful during this process?
Completely, yeah. As I say, yeah, it's just made my own personal life a lot easier, and I think it's not just me. Just to give you a simple example, so we more recently also started publishing HR policies in QHub, and then our HR department was asking me, are people actually reading those procedures? Would you be able to give me a bit of insight on that? Typically, if I didn't have QHub, I probably would struggle to gather that fairly quickly. It took me literally 2 minutes if that in QHub to just filter through obviously all the procedures I've got, publish that list, send that to them and be like, yeah, this is where we're up to, this is how many people have not read it yet, blah blah blah. So it was just really convenient, because again obviously it then tapes everything as well, so you can see obviously the sort of people that will tend to read the procedure quite quickly and then the ones that constantly are late. So again, it really helps us capture sometimes where maybe there will be some struggles, like is it because someone is just not confident enough to go on QHub and read those documents. So yeah, it's a great tool basically.
What benefits have you seen since you started using QHub?
So it's the the automation obviously that's included in it. As I said, the sort of notification when you publish something, when you obviously issue a task to someone, they're going to be notified. So the notification side of QHub is very useful. The interconnection between the hubs, as we discussed, where obviously as we start linking some aspects, it just nicely fits together. And again, if something gets completed, like if within a form you get sent different tasks, they get completed overall, you can then choose to automate the completion of the form itself, etc. So it's all that, as I say, automation, notification side of things that's made it easy. I guess what's quite useful, even though I don't use it too much, is also the fact that you can sort of personalize the access that people get, the dashboards, etc. The also restriction, if you can have some confidential information in some parts, because it's quite easy to restrict the access obviously through the parameters in the different hubs, etc. So all of that's been really positive, and as I say, one thing I found quite positive from the start is the after service, the customer service, where I was told from early on that obviously if we had any sort of suggestion for improvement, any issue, we could raise tickets. And overall I've been quite happy with the response time and the sort of improvements that have been implemented afterwards. So it's always nice to know that our feedback is taken on board and it's been addressed. So that's positive really overall.
Oh, absolutely. We really appreciate any suggestions or feedback from clients, and as you said yourself, we to take them on board and we try and implement improvements within the platform, and that benefits everybody as well. So overall you're helping us to make our platform better, so we really appreciate that. So would you say sort of along the lines of, is using the platform, has it helped save you time, has it streamlined your processes, anything like that?
I would definitely say so, yes. For me personally, 100%. I wouldn't be able to measure it as such because it's not something I've necessarily kept track of. I think again, you've got that tool in QHub where you can put time, how long you spend on a task, etc. I've not really done that because again, it's not something we've necessarily put too much effort into monitoring and improving or etc. But no, I can confidently say that yes, it's definitely streamlined a lot of things for us. As I say, if anything, the likes of the training records, etc. Yes, just made it that much easier to manage.
So would you recommend QHub to others?
Would. Quite happily, Particularly because, let's be honest as well, I think cost-wise, it's really good, because as you can imagine, when we were looking at such system, I obviously reached out to different companies, etc. And you were a lot more affordable than anybody else. And again, I've not to say I've obviously necessarily used the other platforms, but again, I don't have many complaints about QHub. I mean, it's been really good. Again, I like the flexibility of it. As I say, I like the fact that if something doesn't quite work, we can feed that back to you and you're going to generally look into it and implement a change if you can, obviously, and depending on how big the change may be. So in that sense, I think it's been really good, because again, we're a growing company, we couldn't afford necessarily to spend thousands of pounds a month. So it's been really brilliant in terms of the cost versus the benefits. It's been great.
Oh, fab. I'm glad to hear that. So then, last question. What tips would you give to somebody who is new to using QHub?
That's a good question. Get some training, like I did, which usually you would get anyway. I would say build a good relationship with you guys, because obviously it's always good to be able to just reach out. I know with Ewan and Ethan, I've more than once sort of WhatsApp them or pick up the phone. And it's quite nice to just have that possibility to just quickly go through something and then maybe get the answer straight away, so but I guess that applies to anything really. But I would say training, and then probably as you plan to have that training done, making sure that you've got some of your documentation, some of your forms, etc., ready to demonstrate sort of what you would like, because I know it's helped me sort of get a grasp on automation and how to use different fields, etc. So probably that would be what I'd suggest someone to do when they're fully new to QHub.
Being prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
because it does take a little bit of getting used to. As I said, I didn't find it was like unsurmountable or anything like that, but and there are still a few things where I'm sometimes still slightly unsure what is the best way, obviously, to get whatever thing I want done. But I think it's like anything. When it's new, it takes a bit of time to get used to, the way things are set up. But apart from that,